Hello and welcome viewers. It is jobskillshare.org platform, and in the start I request you to subscribe our channel and like our videos, and if you have anything to ask, so leave the comment in the comment section. And this video is total about the IT support interview question, and in this video one I'm going to talk about the very basic question that you might ask by the recruiter or anywhere where you go for the interview related to the IT support. And this is the really basic distinguish you need to know between the client machine and the machine that has no work group, and this is connected with the domain. So we have two things here. Let me show you a little. Totally this video is related to the practical stuff, but in the beginning first understand the question and then reply in a very correct and appropriate way. So the question is what is the difference between the domain joined client machine and the work group client machine? So we have two machines, both have the same operating system, but if we compare the services and the background services that are running and just playing a part to manage the machine, in this sense we have two criteria, two logical boundaries that separates each other. So the first machine that we call the domain joined machine is the machine that joins any domain. Let's say, for example, if we have a company, an office, and we have a domain jobskillshare.org, so the machine that is joined this domain is now called the client machine that joined already the domain. But the machines we are using in our home, mostly our personal computer, are not the machine that join in domain, because you're using that machine in your own local network and there is no sort of management and no sort of centralized controlling. So all the machine used in your home premises or the personal computers are not the domain joined client machine. So here in this video we're going to see this difference, and with the practical examples we're gonna just show you that how you can differentiate and reply with the clarity. So let's move to the practical stuff. So here for you I have both machines to show you some practical examples. Here I'm using the practice lab resources to show you the domain joined client machine, and here I have my own Windows 10 machine that is the workgroup client machine. So if you want to log in on the workgroup client machine, you have the administrator account. Sometimes this account would be admin, right? But in the domain joined client machine you have to log in on the domain. So this is the major difference you can find out and reply when you ask by such question, that when you have the domain joined client machine, the machine that is the part of the domain, so you will find the domain name before any user account. So right now we're about to log in on the administrator account and the domain name is mentioned in the beginning. Or the very benefit you have when you have this domain joined client machine, then in this situation you can also log in with the local admin. So here let's understand what is the local admin and what is the domain admin. So there are four ways to log in on any machine. First, you can log in with the same practice labs /administrator account, right? Then you can another way to log in by using same practice labs domain with another regular user account. Let's say Lisa Scott. So this is a user account on practice lab. So if you want to log in with any other domain account, so you could type practice labs. Why? Because it is the domain of this environment, the domain name of this environment, and then you can type exact name of the user that you want to use to log in that domain, right? So this is the two way. And the third way to log in on the same machine is to log in on the local admin account. So if you put this dot / it's gonna log in you on the PLAB Win 10 local admin. So local admin does what? When you don't have any domain join, when you don't have any domain environment in your machine, so all the time to manage your specific machine, to manage restriction, permission, you need local admin. Like here, if I switch to my own machine, there is the administrator account. So is it the domain admin? No, because yet this machine didn't join any domain. So what is that account? This is the local administrator account that is a part of any operating system that allows you to manage and add restriction, whatever the way you want to control your local machine. This domain administrator, this local administrator is allow you to do so. So there's a difference. What that in the client machine that didn't join any domain, you have administrator account, but this account can only provide you to manage this same machine, not the bunch of machine. But the domain admin have the power and rights to manage the whole client's machine that any domain have, right? So if we switch back to the PLAB resources where we have the domain join client machine, the third way is to log in that machine is what? Use the local admin account. And if you have any user account on your local machine, let's say when you install the new operating system and you create, let's say, Joe Rogan name of account in your local machine, so you can easily log in on this machine by using the same account. But the very difference is what? If you want to log in on the domain environment and you're using the domain user regular account, so you must have network connection, local network connection. So what's the point? The point is for login into the domain account, domain user account, there must be a connection established between your client machine to the domain server, because your passwords and your user account goes to the domain server for authentication. So your credential must be authenticated from the domain server, so there must be a proper network connection between your machine to the domain server. But in contrast, here if you came to this client machine which does not have any domain, here you don't need any network connection for login, because all the process and all the stuff going here is what? Local. Local means it is related to the hardware and the machine and its surrounding. No network interference here and no managing from any sort of point or centralized controlling. So this point is clear, I guess, that if you want to log in to the domain user account, you must have a proper network connection, local network connection, not the internet. Sometimes if your internet is not working but you have the local connection, let's say you're connected to the switch and switch is working in a correct way and you're getting ping from your other machines, so that means you're totally connected with the local network. So if you have the local network connectivity, so that's okay. And let me show you this, how you can check your local network connectivity. Let's say this is the client machine and I already log in, but somehow I'm not getting response from the local machines, or I cannot able to log in on my domain account. So what do I do to find out that whether this machine has a local network access or not? So the best way is to click to the other user and log in with the local domain account. And what's the way to log in the local account, local admin? Just add /admin and the password and press enter. So it can log in you on the local admin account of the PLAB Win 10, and then you must at least have a single IP address of any machine over your network to just find out that this machine is still have the local network connection. So once you didn't get any response after ping to that node, so that's the troubleshooting, and that's how you can easily figure out that your machine does not have local connection and it needs local connection to be fixed in order to join the domain or log in on the domain user account. So here let's see how we can achieve that. So there you go, you have the local admin account and it is login here. So what we're going to do is just find out at least one IP address of the any account, or you can just find out the IP address. You can just ask for any admin from the IT help desk that what's the IP of the domain server, and all you have to do is type ping 192.168 and the IP of the domain server. So I'm using right now here the practice labs domain controller, the IP address of that machine, and press enter. Now after that, if you are getting ping, so even your internet is not working, and if you're getting ping from the domain server, that means that you have the local network coverage right now, and you need to, and you can easily log in to any domain user account. And if you're unable, so definitely there must be some issue, some problem with your credentials. So in this way you can fix this thing and find out. And even if you are unable to log in on that machine by using the domain user account, if you have the information about the local user, or if you know the password of the local admin, so you can still log in on that machine. So this is another point. And now the major difference here in the client machine that have the domain environment and the client machine that are part of the work group, the major difference between both client machine is that every restriction and management can be done easily from the domain point, from the domain node, and the client machine does not need to just go to its settings and allow things and disallow things. The domain admin, the person who manages the domain server, can easily trigger any installation, or he can restrict access to some specific programs, to some specific feature for the client. And this might be designed by the higher official to just increase productivity and stop their employees and user to get along and just waste their time in doing other stuff. So it just make the environment more professional. That's why the company needs such policies and restriction to be implemented. But in contrast, in the machines which are the part of the work group can easily manage their machine and allow and disallow each and everything by just using the local admin account. So in the client machine that are not the domain joined machine, that are the part of the work group, can easily manage and operates and allow and disallow and made any restriction to any program by using the local domain, by using the local admin account. So you must have the local admin account credentials. You can do these things by using the local user account, because this account doesn't have any sort of power and any sort of other things like the feature to manage the whole machine. So you must have the local admin account. This local admin account can easily manage the machine for anything, like if you want to delete anything, if you want to add any program, if you want to restrict any drive to access to the other local user. But it is best and it is more likely to be professional that if you have the Active Directory, if you have the domain environment, so all stuff and all sort of things can be easily managed by the domain admin from the domain node. So the domain admin or the system engineer are not supposed to come on each machine to fix things, to just check things. He can easily restrict and he can easily implement any sort of policy, like for example the password policy, that if your environment requirement is that you must add 8 characters for the password. So if you're typing 6 or 5 characters in the password and you're getting error that this is not the right and the required password, so how you're getting this thing and why you're unable to do so? Because your domain admin made that policy and you have to cooperate with that policy and you have to follow that requirement to execute your password. So this is the difference, and this is the major difference between the client machine that is a part of domain and the client machine that are not the part of the domain, that are usually the workgroup machine. and mostly 80-90% your personal machines are the part of the work group, because there's no any domain environment, and you have only the router and the Ethernet cable. Comes from the router, and router is connected to the ISP, so definitely there's no domain environment there. But in contrast, in offices, in corporate sector, you have the switch, and switch have multiple nodes, and it contain a lot of users at a time, and the switch is connected with your server, with your router, and that is managing all the client machines from the domain server. So that is more professional, and this is the major difference that I showed and discussed throughout the video. And at last, like I said, to learn real world IT skill, log on to jobskillshare.org, and please like this video and spread to all those guys who want to know and want to prepare themselves practically about their interviews and want to see things in a real world. So stay with us and keep watching our videos.